let's get into one of the most important questions of this interview, and that is about your
Okay.
recent Instagram post giving Cobra Kai season 3 a 6 out of 10 rating. What's going on, Joe? How can you besmirch a fun and fan service heavy season like that, sir?
You know what? So I'm actually a pretty big fan of Cobra Kai, and it's one of those shows. Like when I first watched it, I was like, "Oh shoot! Like I don't need to watch this." And I loved the first season. Me and my wife watched the first season in one day.
Wow.
Excited for the second season. Took took that one down as well, really quick. And it was one of those, like, we're all over the place. Like, I'm going to watch this, like, foreign international Oscar winner, and then, like, I'll watch Below Deck and Cobra Kai right after. Like, I try to mix it up. So I love the first two seasons, and I just feel as it built, it got very repetitive. Like, it just continued to rely on the same things, and it was like, all right, I get it. You get bullied at school, you get bullied here, you get bullied there, karate, and then I don't know, it just kind of, it didn't go anywhere in the third season for me. So I'm a big fan of the first two. Like I said, I finished them in one day, and I still binged the third as well pretty quick, but I just felt like, especially in the middle, that it got a little repetitive and kept relying on the same kind of humor, the same kind of dramatics happening until they finally went somewhere. So, look, I enjoyed it and I watched it. I'm just saying it was the worst season of the three.
Interesting. And but that's a fair point on being a little repetitive and doing kind of going the same direction. I think I like this more, even though that's a very true point. I like this as much as any other season because, one, I'm a big fan of all the three movies except New Karate Kid. I never saw that one. But so having Ali return was something I was dying for since season one. Then him going to Okinawa and befriending Chosen was like crazy stuff to me. And also, I like this season got away from focusing on the teenagers because that's to me the area where it's most repetitive and it focused more on
Yeah.
Daniel and Johnny. So I think that was the
Yeah.
balance for me, but that's fair. It is.
Yeah.
It makes me think they can't go many more seasons than this then.
Yeah. I think if you're maybe a true, like, Karate Kid fan too and know enough about the Okinawa trip and all that, like, I don't know that much about that. So it kind of seemed like it didn't add any value to the story. Like, it kind of happened for nostalgia only. Like, for somebody that's a big Karate Kid fan, for them to kind of feel that nostalgia. Yeah, I was waiting for Ali, and even when that came, I mean, I was actually, like, the meetup still seemed kind of pointless in the story, but I guess it built Johnny's character to, like, hey, he's finally going to move on from the past, which he needs to do.
Yeah.
So it was great when they did introduce her and then she left, but like I said, I felt like that was all just to kind of spoon feed you the nostalgia that you wanted, but without the story going anywhere, like the Okinawa part. But if you're like a true Karate Kid fan, I'm sure that was like super cool. In a way, I guess I'm not like the biggest fan.
Fair enough. Now we will get back to the movie, TV show conversation in a little bit, but first let's get
Anytime.
to the UFC talk. In your career, you've had a lot of great wins, some difficult losses. Considering how your first fight with Deiveson Figueiredo had controversy to it, was the loss in the rematch was it hard to get over? Do losses get easier this far into a career? You mentally bounce back quicker, or can it be said they're actually harder because the window on championship opportunities are closing more at this point in your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different because, when you first start as a young kid and you really have no fear, you literally think you're never going to lose in your life and around in practice, like anything. So I would honestly say the first title loss of my career was still my hardest to date, right? Because that was the hardest. That first loss against Demetrius is the first flyweight title ever.
Yeah.
I put so much on that. I didn't think there was another reality. Like, there wasn't another option. Like, I counted on being the first champion ever. When it didn't happen, like, I couldn't believe it, but I had to live with it. Like, I had to accept it. And I still went. I was like, okay, well, like, people still love me. I still have my friends. I still have my wife. I still have my family. And it was kind of like, that was the most I'd ever put on a fight in my life. Like, I did not think I could lose. So when I did, I didn't know how to cope with it at all. So as I got there, I was like, all right, this is still going to hurt, but like, I know the reality of like losing everything when you think there was no, that there was no alternative. So, in that way, it gets easier. Look, a loss is never easy, but after that one, it was like, I can never put that much on a fight again. Therefore, I can never hurt that much with another loss. This last fight with Figueiredo, it did hurt. I mean, probably really close to that in a way, because yes, that I know how to cope with grief a little better in that regard, and I have kind of other things that can fulfill my value and my self-worth. Like when I was that young fighting Demetrius, like being a champion and being the best, like that was all I had. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or that was what I thought was going to give me the value and the self-worth. But now it's like, that's still my job and I want to accomplish it. And professional, that was one of the hardest, things of my career, because I know, hey, that was probably the last time I'm ever going to get this opportunity that I've like chased so long. So in a professional regard, it was very hard. But in a personal, it was like I'm more established and more valuable than I was. I have more than I have in value, in self-worth, in importance, and purpose outside than I did in the first fight. So, it hurt professionally, but I still like, all right, well, my wife thinks I'm the best every day. And like, that's important. And, like the people that are my friends and everything, still treat me the same. So, it's different. It's that makes it a little easy. You establish kind of what's important, and you just know like, hey, this is not the most important thing in my life, but it is the most important thing in my professional life. So professionally, that was one of the hardest ones. But personally, it probably wasn't as hard as the first one, because I didn't have really anything to fall back on in the first one. I was just going to be the champion. That was all like life meant to me. Yeah. And now life means a little more, so I can kind of, that was a tough one professionally. That champion part is kind of over, but hey, like, I've established my happiness and my value and everything outside of it within myself and my family and the people around me.
This fight with Askarov is fascinating, because it's been a really long time since you fought someone that leans heavy on the wrestling. You have fought some real good grapplers in recent years, but Askar's game is all about his wrestling, attempting 32 takedowns in his 3 UFC fights. Because of that, and wrestling talent you have right off the bat, is this like a really bad matchup for him, or does he bring a wrestling style that is better than most, and you have your work cut out for you trying to use technical sprawl and brawling attacks to fight him?
No, I mean, I think his wrestling's good, and I think I have an advantage on the stand-up, and being a better striker and probably just as good a wrestler is going to really help me in that regard. But, I'm not worried about really anyone's ground game. And I think I can take him down probably just as easily as he can take down me, especially having the stand-up advantage where the fight starts. But, I welcome him trying to wrestle me too. And I'm really excited for those exchanges to have someone that will try that, and where I can showcase my grappling a little bit.
Going back to what you mentioned earlier, and how accepting losses are a lot different than they were years ago, because you have many more things going on for you at the time, and different focuses, different goals, different motivations. You even mentioned it, the chance of another title fight is probably going to be harder now, assuming that is the case. What are the motivators that make you still go out, go to the gym, grind? Because you've done so much, you've proven so much. You're one of the greatest fighters the UFC's ever seen, especially in the flyweight division. What makes you is him and his style, being a young, top level fighter, is that enough of a motivation? Because, it could easily said, you're smart, charismatic man, a lot of talents. It could be definitely said that you could transition to other careers and do other things in your life. What makes you get up and keep putting in that work at this point?
Yeah, it's exactly that. The reason, since the beginning of my career, I've just wanted to fight the best and be the best and compete with the best. And that was kind of what this fight is about. I didn't want to fight anybody that wasn't at the top. And I've always said in my career, like, the only point is being at the top. Like, I'm not fighting, just to make money. Yes, there is a passionate and a fun aspect of it where I enjoy doing it and training, and I wouldn't have got this far, obviously, if I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. But so I got done with the fight, and I was getting offers at the end of last year, end of 2020, not that far after my other fight, but I asked myself the same thing. I said, well, why? I don't need money before the end of the career. I'm not super excited and just in love to fight. Mm-hmm. And the matchup Torren Rida is I want to fight still the best guy. And I've always told myself when I can't compete with the best, then what's the point? So that's what motivates me is to know, within myself, compete with myself, that I know that I can still compete with the best guys, undefeated, ranked number 3 in the world. It wouldn't mean a ton to me to go beat a number 15 guy or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it would obviously, be worse. So I just want to compete with the best. Even, when I wasn't fighting for the title, I wanted to fight guys at the top. And that was really what this fight was about, is just, all the other fights have been about fighting for the top title. So it's outside of that, just to fight the best guys. That's what's motivating. And it took me a while, like I said. I was getting fight offers November, October even, but I was like, you know what? That motivation's not there yet. Give me someone at the top and let me just fall in love with the process of training again without having, a gold, belt on the horizon. And, that came. I was like, look, March sounds really good. And the timing and the opponent was good to prove that I could still, to compete at the top, which is, like I said, what I've wanted to do my whole career, and I've been able to, thankfully, for the longevity of my career.
And I think that's part of the main reason, other than your high level skills, why so many people, revere you, have admiration, respect you, because you're always fighting top fighters, beating top fighters throughout your career. From time to time, a certain conversation comes up in MMA media, fan circles, and that is of the greatest fighter in MMA history to not have won a UFC title. Alistair Overeem's often talked about, Jacare Souza, Uriah Faber. Your name also often comes up in that conversation, also as the best of that unique group. Does something like that at all bother you? Do you feel it brings a negative connotation to your really impressive legacy, or do you in a way appreciate it? Because in the end, it really is trying to shine a light on some really great fighters who, they didn't become champions, but they still had amazing careers despite not being champion.
I don't know. I mean, people are going to say what they want to do. I mean, you can't control how people destiny or legacy, how people talk about you, all that stuff. That's not something I can control, really. So when I look at something like that, I'm like, hey, all those guys are good. There's, thousands and thousands of fighters that never even went for the UFC title.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a reminder, oh, you didn't do this, but it's also a reminder oh, well, you did do this that a lot of people haven't. So I don't know. I don't take that much into it. It's just, I think legacy is so important to people. And I look at it and I'm just I did what I did. So however people think about me from there, I did everything I could do. And that's, at the end of the day, what you got to be, happy and proud of.
I've spoken with Brandon Moreno quite a few times, and we've talked about you a lot, how much he has a respect for you, and really how much you've had a influence on him. Still calling you coach from your days from being on Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you think of his performance against Figueiredo? Did you think the result was right? Did you think it was wrong that he probably won? And what do you think he would need to do different to win that rematch?
Yeah, man, I love Brandon. Huge fan, huge supporter. Someone that I think even if you don't know him and had anything to do with his life, like, you're just happy for him.
Yes.
You can feel,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like, even if you didn't know him. So, therefore, knowing him, being like a small part of his journey, like, he's just someone that anyone would really like to see succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I still laugh every day because I see him and he goes, Coach. And I'm just like, dude, like, all right. Like, it's just funny. And we're even practicing at Extreme the other day. I mean, he's was training in Vegas. So, you know, we got in a ton of rounds and practices on Monday. And, you know, so now we're training and everything together, and still every day, coach, what's like, so it's just super great, super funny. But like I said, just so happy for the guy, and, you know, doing what he's doing and continuing to improve. Yeah, but I mean, as far as the fight, I think, you know, with Brandon, it's like he's still getting better and striving to be the best. Where it's kind of like, on a technical aspect, it's hard for me to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
but. And, you know, you can talk about it really forever,
Yeah.
I guess, from a technical standpoint. But, you know, just on a mental aspect, it's like Brandon's like, oh, I didn't achieve my goal, and I'm kind of, you know, trying every day to be better to attain this and get better. Where, you know, on one side, you know, Figueiredo still has the belt and, you know, maybe has kind of settled with that and, you know, maybe felt like he won a little bit. So I think Brandon just has all the opportunities to improve on it, where Figueiredo is almost like, damn, I have to fight him again. So
Yeah.
I think that could back just mentally as well of how they approach the next fight. And I know Brandon's training hard, so.
Now, Cody Garbrandt was scheduled to get a title fight, then he's had, unfortunately, got COVID. It's really derailed his career to this point. He still doesn't have a fight scheduled. There's obvious history of you two being two Team Alpha Male alums. You haven't trained there in a while. You, like you just mentioned, Stream Couture and stuff like that. But because of his name value, being a former UFC champion, you know, that historically, even on a fan perspective, for me, would be a huge fight. After Askarov, would that kind of a fight interest you? Or because of the history training in the past, it's just a non-starter?
You know, as far as like fighting people, like I know, and that like I maybe wouldn't be too excited to fight. It's like there's not enough implications for fights, you know, to fight people like that I know and that I don't really get up to fighting.
Yeah.
That like there's not enough implications to do it unless, you know, like there was a time when it's like, all right, I'm going to be here. I got no choice to fight, you know, Brandon, Cody, this guy, that guy, anyone I like, respect, have history with. Like, you know, there is a point in your career when that is. But at right now, the implications on my fights, I'm not like going out of my way to be like, oh yeah, I should fight somebody that I like kind of know and that we all kind of. So, you know, that's not really on my radar.
Let's talk movies, TV, get back to it. Since you are avid fan, I am too. 2020 was a terrible year in terms of movies and not being in theaters and things getting pushed back. Yeah. Although TV still did a lot of things, especially on the streaming services. If we were to do some awards, call them the Benavidez Globes or the Beefcake Globes, which sounds perfect to me. What were some of the standout films or TV content for you in 2020 or into this early year? What were you watching during this pandemic? What really stood out from the new stuff that came out in the last year?
Well, as far as 2020 titles go, I'm still obviously I still have a lot to go because, you know, titles from 2020 still haven't even come out. Like Nomadland, Minari, The Father are all some I'm really looking forward to, but like I haven't been able to watch yet. As far 2020 has not been great for movies, And I would honestly say the movie I ranked the highest that I've seen from 2020, even though it wouldn't be my favorite because it is a very devastating drama.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of those dramas that's like you don't seek out to watch again because it kind of crushes you, with Pieces of a Woman. And
I've heard about that.
it was an excellent movie, but it's like, well, that wouldn't be my favorite because it's not like a fun watch. It's just incredible acting and drama, and covers, a very specific kind of grief that people go through. But it was just like crushed me in a way, and it's like, all right, well, that meant something to me. Like, that was maybe the best movie and the highest I ranked, but not my favorite. Where I like the movie, another movie that is a 2020 title that's actually not even eligible for Oscars because it was considered a TV movie, which is Bad Education.
Okay.
And that was actually really good. That's with Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney, and it's actually a true story. Really surprised
yes, the teacher in Long Island. Yes, I saw that. That was good.
And I thought it was really good, and it surprised me because it looked just kind of like standard true story and, real mature. But, man, it was super good. The performances were incredible. It was still, like, bizarre enough. The pacing was perfect for the story.
And it's a true story, too.
Yes, and it was crazy. And I'm not a big true story fan because I like original content. I like, oh, my God, this guy thought of this, like, out of nowhere with themes from – modern society or whatever the heck they're dealing with. Like, that was a true story. So I was like, all right, well, how good are they going to tell this? And it took a pretty run-of-the-mill true story and made it a terrific movie. So that was pretty good. Another surprise of 2020 was a movie called Possessor. And that was a bit of a horror sci-fi movie. That one wasn't bad at all. And there's another 2020 title I did enjoy. Bad Education. Devil All the Time was okay. That was early.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by that one either.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away, but honestly, it kind of stood the time as far as like, it was still one of the better movies. Like, now that the year is almost over. So those three stood out for me. I had another.
Well, I got two for you. I'm going to throw two for you that are actually Golden Globe nominees too. Did you see The Trial of the Chicago 7 on Netflix?
I didn't see Trial of the Chicago 7. I actually haven't caught up on any of the Netflix hopefuls. And I know Netflix dominated the Golden Globe nominations with like 42 nominations.
Yeah.
And The Trial, The Elegy, Mank.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Mank is a David Fincher film, and it's kind of wild to me that there's a David Fincher film out on Netflix to watch, and I like have desire to.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of weird, but I'm just catching up on older titles since the 2020s really haven't done much for me. But anyway, sorry, I can't comment on Trial of the Chicago 7, but I will get to it. What's the next one?
That's a great mention. And two, this is how crazy 2020 is. In 2020, we had films on Netflix. Well, I guess it's like 2019, 2020. But Scorsese, Spike Lee, and David Fincher. That would have blown my head like 10 years ago. But the other one is, did you see the Borat sequel?
Did not watch Borat either. Once again, just I knew it came out, and I'd seen Borat before, and I know kind of what it deals with and what kind of humor to expect, and I just like not really into it right now. So I was actually kind of excited when it was going to come out, but then when I was like going to click on it, I just like, I don't need to watch it. I feel like I've seen this before, and I don't need it. So. Yeah, actually, I haven't got to those. Like I said, I've actually been lagging on the 2020s a little bit.
Well, I got some
TV.
I got some shows for you then. Let me give you some shows then, and some of them might be stuff you've already watched. We were talking about Ozark off air. We both love Ozark, and that's a Golden Globe nominee. What I want to get your opinion on this. I'm hoping you saw it because I was very mixed on it. Golden Globe nominee. A lot of people like it. Did you see Lovecraft Country at all?
I didn't go to that sci-fi kind of on HBO. Nope, didn't see it. I've gotten a lot of recommendations to watch it, but just haven't got to it. I actually haven't really been getting into the shows as much as I should because just getting down as many movies as I can. Where kind of like the shows, I know I'm going to be stuck for a week on one or two shows. So I haven't got to them. Some of the best shows I watched 2020, Ozark, obviously Tiger King did good. I think What We Do in the Shadows, the last season was 2020. I love that show.
I love the movie, didn't like the show too much.
I actually liked the show better.
Wow.
And the movie is incredible, but
yes.
I just thought the format for that kind of comedy as a show was great because they could kind of spin off on so many different themes and episodes and ideas. And yeah, some were hit and some were missed, but overall, like, I got something wacky and different every show, you know, every single episode. So I love that one. There was another sci-fi show called Devs that was on FX and Hulu by Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina and Annihilation.
Okay.
That was another great show, Devs. And then Queen's Gambit, I will say, was not good.
Really? I was thinking about that one, but you're scaring me off of it right now. What did you like about it? Because everybody seemed to be a darling this year.
Oh, did you watch it?
No, I haven't. I was thinking about it because everybody's all this talk and hoopla about it, but now I'm worried not to watch it.
No, I mean, it's a fine, like, watch. I think, for me, I just don't understand how it, like, swept the nation. Like, it's just kind of like, okay, like, that was a pretty, like, normal, bland, like, I mean, I have my thoughts, but I don't want to ruin it if you're not going to watch it. Basically, I just can't believe how, like, it took over. Like, when you see something like Tiger King, you understand, like, every single person watched it because it's just a wild spectacle, like, kind of thing. But Gambit, you're just kind of like, all right, like, I don't see the appeal, but I actually have my own, like, problems with it too. So
I think you might have had it on your ratings on the recent Instagram post, or maybe not, but it's also Golden Globe nominee. But what are your thoughts on Schitt's Creek? Have you watched Schitt's Creek, and the last season is nominated?
Yes. So I just started Schitt's Creek recently with my wife. She's obsessed.
Yes,
and
it's so good.
I would have never watched Schitt's Creek by myself. Like, it's not something I'd be like, oh, I have to watch this right now by myself. I hate laughing. I haven't laughed in 3 years. but it's one of those things you always had on. And I liked the episodes when I watched it, but when we're talking classic comedy sitcoms, I am not, like, those don't appeal to me to watch more than, you know, a few episodes. Like, if they're on, they're fine, and I laugh at them. But, like, I think I would rate, like, The Office, Seinfeld, anything of that nature, where you don't have to tune in and it doesn't stick with you after. I feel like I'd rate them all the same. But Schitt's Creek, I'm really enjoying a lot of it because my wife enjoys it so much, and I know it makes her happy. But I just enjoy it together. It actually made me cry. So,
which episode made you cry? I wonder. I think I might know.
The one where the dude sang "Simply the Best."
Yep, that was a good one.
Where Patrick sang to him, and I think I even cried when Alexis and the guy surprised each other and Ted.
Yes, very good. That was very good.
So that is another, like, that is a step up on comedy when you can actually break into that emotion. So yeah, I just really like it. And like I said, it's not something I'd watch alone. And I always enjoy the episodes when they're on. My wife watches The Office no matter what, like, a million times. She's seen all the episodes, and when we're at dinner, we put on The Office. And I like it, but I'm not like, oh, let's watch another one. Let's watch another one. You know, it's not necessarily like a bingey thing or something that stays in my mind and I have to watch the next one. But since I kind of just gave in to Schitt's Creek and I said, let's do it, I'm on season 5 now. And, you know, I can't wait to get to 6 that won all the Emmys, and enjoying the characters, the writing, and I think it's really fun.
Since you didn't like too much with Lovecraft Country and the sci-fi stuff, is it safe to say you're not a Mandalorian guy either?
Haven't gotten into Mandalorian either. No.
What about I watched a little bit of it, liked it at first, and hated it after a certain point. I couldn't stand the main character, Flight Attendant. Flight Attendant's another big one this year.
I liked Flight Attendant. I had a really good fun time with it. I liked how they kind of, you know, it was I like these these stories that, like I said earlier, is just original concepts. And, they took this story that, has been done somewhat before, but just the format in which they told it, I thought was fresh and fun and vibrant. I thought some people and some shows have a really hard time of mixing tones of like darkness and comedy, and they did it very perfectly. For instance, like Promising Young Woman, which is getting a lot of hype this year. They tried to be dark and comedic and important, and it was just erratic as far as the tones go. It was like, all right, well, that doesn't go. That was too much. But Flight Attendant did it really good, and the concept in which they told it I thought was original, with her kind of going back in her mind and stuff. And I enjoyed it. I thought the acting was great, and everything was really good as far as that. So I had a lot of fun with it. Enjoyed it as well. The other one was The Undoing. I know a lot of people got into, and that one I enjoyed too. It was a miniseries with Kidman and Hugh Grant.
Speaking of shows, what were you gonna say?
So the Flight Attendant, I liked it.
Speaking of shows, talk to me about At Home with Benalivi, this podcast you now have out. You have a few episodes out with your very talented wife, Megan Olivi. Like, how long was this being planned on? What's the theme of the show? Is the goal to have this grow into something notable as time goes on? And also, honestly, why did it even take this long to happen? This seems like a no-brainer show that should have been podcasting years ago.
Yeah, man. That's what's funny is I love that you say that, because a lot of people have said, when I listened to it, I thought about, like, why was this not a thing already? Like, why am I barely... And that was kind of the thing is, we've got, like, people have said, you guys need a podcast. You guys need a podcast. Even since I started doing my movie reviews, people were like, this needs to be a podcast. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But I'm not very tech savvy. I know nothing about podcasts. And we had a great company kind of go all in and help us out with everything as far as the shooting and the editing and the cameras and how to do it. So, yeah, we moved on with it, and we're excited about the venture. We have 3 episodes out now, At Home with Benalivi. You guys go listen to them. And I think it's a good base for what to expect. We talk about, obviously, there's fights. Every Wednesday it'll be out. So, the first episode was great because it was just after the first 3 big fights, and I think that was going to get most people that know us from MMA. So we gave them that. We didn't rob them of that before we got into our interest. So we talk food, snacks, movies. We go into our DMs and read some of those that, stuff like that. And then even a lot of, like, I almost want it to turn into, like, yes, I'll do the movie stuff on my own, and that can maybe be bonus podcast episodes in the future of what I watch this month, so a monthly thing. But just couple stuff, everything that, I think couples do, especially at home. Every single person at home, there's not much else, you can do. So we shoot it from home. We talk about what the heck we do at home, what we talk about at home. And, I mean, I guess some of the stuff people have said so far is this is great. I feel like I'm like talking with my friends in my kitchen, because it's very like, we're not going too deep into aliens and conspiracies or anything. We're, trying to welcome you into our home and talk to you about stuff that we would talk about at home. This is what we're watching at home. This is what we're eating. Oh, when we do happen to go out in the city of Vegas, which we love, which is filled with incredible food, we try to give recommendations there. So those are something we're going to push a little more, is kind of like a city guide to Vegas, since we love the city and stuff like that. So we start, pushing some of that stuff. Other than that, just having fun. It's like me and Megan are doing this and talking to each other all day. So it seemed like a no-brainer to not do it, especially when some people were saying to. So, like I said, we just talk about our general interests, and at the end of the day, I was kind of like, well, I just kind of love talking about shit that I like, and I get to do that. People want to listen, like, that's even better, and it's great. And then Megan spills the tea on a bunch of reality TV and Bravo and, stuff like that. So we have, really just a lot of general interest, I think, of people our age that are hanging out at home right now, especially with a significant other. We give both kind of takes and perspectives from the woman and man. So even though Megan's more manly than me, she talks about more football than I do. But like, she'll know more about the Super Bowl than me, but we still have takes from both sides. So yeah, thanks, man. And everyone listen on Wednesday, and we're just excited to continue to grow it.
Would you say that it's a if someone wanted a all-encompassing, inclusive look at Joe Benavidez and the many angles, the fighter angles, the movie fan angles, the dapper scrapper of clothing angles, would they be able to go to this podcast and get all those angles? Or you'll get a taste, but then you'll get to see some new angles of the beefcake they didn't see before?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think it is a more intimate look, of all our interests. I mean, we brought about Dapper Scrappers, we brought about the food, we talk about movies every episode, just kind of what we're watching, latest thing, so I don't rush you guys with it. And then I'll eventually do, my movie reviews on there as well as a bonus episode. So, yeah, I think you can get a little bit of everything, and just not only just me, but a more intimate look into mine and Megan's relationship, a more personal look at that. And we obviously love interacting with our listeners. And sometimes there's just not enough. It's not a big enough format to interact on just comments and DMs, even though you want to talk to people. And there's so many cool, funny, great people out there with similar interests that we would love to continue to talk to. But it's kind of like you can only do so much with the listeners as far as like, hey, well, this is. And so this is that kind of intimate look and discussion we get to have. We're going to answer like fan questions and everything, but yeah, man, I mean, it's great. It's fun. It's a little different putting myself out there, and it's kind of funny when we go through a whole episode and I'm not talking about fighting. I'm just trying to be me and how I am at home every day, and people like it. It's great. And we've been loving the feedback so far.